In a decisive move aimed at reinforcing U.S. energy independence, President Donald J. Trump issued a directive on April 8, 2025 designed to curb what he termed state overreach regarding energy regulation. This executive order underscores the administration's commitment to unshackling American energy production from what it views as excessive state and local government controls which threaten the nation's energy dominance and economic stability. The order articulates a clear purpose: to eliminate barriers impeding the development and utilization of domestic energy resources, which include oil, natural gas, coal, hydropower, and nuclear energy. An affordable and reliable domestic energy supply is essential to the national and economic security of the United States, Trump asserted in his statement, highlighting that energy independence is not merely a domestic concern but also a pivotal aspect of U.S. foreign policy. He emphasized that citizens benefit when the nation is energy dominant, a sentiment that resonates with many in the energy sector. The executive order specifically targets state legislation that the Trump administration deems unconstitutional or counterproductive, particularly laws that impose harsh penalties on energy producers for alleged environmental violations. For instance, New York's controversial climate change law, which imposes retroactive fines on energy companies for past emissions, has been cited as a prime example of overreach that jeopardizes interstate commerce and discourages investment in energy resources. Similarly, California's stringent carbon caps place undue burdens on businesses, effectively pushing them toward costly carbon credit trading systems. In light of these challenges, the order mandates a comprehensive review of state laws that may infringe upon federal energy policies. The Attorney General, in conjunction with relevant federal agencies, is tasked with identifying and challenging state regulations that hinder the development and use of energy resources. Within 60 days, a report detailing these findings and recommended actions will be submitted to the President, indicating the administration's proactive approach to energy regulation. This executive action comes at a time of heightened tensions between state policies and federal energy goals, posing potential ramifications for both energy producers and consumers. Critics argue that the administration's aggressive stance could lead to regulatory conflicts, particularly in states that are prioritizing environmental protections and climate change initiatives. The potential fallout from this order may manifest in rising energy costs for families, especially in states that currently impose stricter regulations on energy production. The implications of this executive order extend beyond energy policy, reflecting a broader theme of federalism and state authority in the U.S. legal landscape. Trump's administration appears poised to challenge the prevailing regulatory frameworks that have allowed states to assert significant control over energy production and environmental standards. As the legal and political battles unfold, the outcome of this initiative will likely shape the future of energy production in the United States. Looking ahead, the administration's efforts to streamline energy regulations may spur increased investment in the domestic energy sector, potentially leading to job creation and enhanced energy security. However, it will be critical to monitor how this initiative interacts with ongoing environmental concerns and the broader economic landscape, particularly amid global shifts in energy production and consumption. As the discourse surrounding energy regulation evolves, the administration's commitment to dismantling perceived barriers presents both opportunities and challenges for the future of American energy independence. The coming months will reveal whether this bold strategy will indeed empower U.S. energy producers while balancing the pressing need for environmental sustainability. In a dramatic escalation of trade tensions, President Donald Trump has implemented sweeping tariffs that have sent ripples through global markets. In a move described as historic, Trump announced a staggering 125% tariff on Chinese imports effective immediately, while also granting a 90-day pause on tariffs for over 75 other countries. This dual approach has ignited widespread concern among economists, businesses, and consumers alike, with many fearing the potential long-term impact on the U.S. economy. The tariffs, which affect approximately 185 countries, have already triggered significant retaliatory measures from key trading partners. China has announced an 84% tariff on U.S. goods set to take effect on April 10. exacerbating fears of a full-blown trade war. In response, the European Union has also approved retaliatory tariffs on a range of U.S. imports, further complicating international trade relations. As the tariffs took effect, Trump took to social media urging Americans to be cool, and reassured them that everything is going to work out well. He framed the market turmoil as an opportunity, encouraging investors to buy into the market while stocks struggled to recover from a series of declines. "This is a great time to buy," he declared, attempting to instill confidence amid chaos. However, the reality on the ground is starkly different. An Economist/YouGov poll revealed that 56% of Americans believe Trump's tariff strategy has gone too far, a sentiment echoed by numerous business leaders and economists. Jamie Dimon, CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, stated that a recession is a likely outcome of the tariffs. While Walmart has withdrawn its operating income forecast due to the uncertain environment created by these trade policies. The economic ramifications of the tariffs are already being felt across various sectors. The mortgage market, for instance, is at risk if foreign nations decide to sell U.S. mortgage-backed securities in reaction to the tariffs. Additionally, retailers are bracing for the impact on holiday sales, with many Christmas items traditionally imported from China facing price hikes that could deter consumers. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer voiced concerns over the negative effect of tariffs on retirement accounts, noting a significant downturn in the stock market that has vaporized a substantial amount of savings. Meanwhile, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer described the situation as a triple whammy for the state's auto industry, which is already grappling with higher costs and job losses. The uncertainty surrounding the tariffs has left many businesses scrambling to adapt. Google's cloud CEO Thomas Kurian stated that the company is evaluating how to respond to the rising costs of imported goods, while other firms have begun to cancel orders to mitigate potential losses. Airlines too are feeling the pressure, with Delta Airlines reporting a slowdown in both leisure and corporate bookings. As market volatility continues, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has called for China to engage in negotiations over tariffs, emphasizing the importance of addressing trade imbalances. The stakes are high and the future remains uncertain. With both domestic and international reactions continuing to unfold, the long-term implications of Trump's tariff policies will likely shape the economic landscape for years to come, as businesses and consumers navigate this turbulent environment. The hope for a resolution remains, but the path forward is fraught with challenges. In a period marked by escalating tensions and significant policy shifts, the Trump administration is grappling with a complex landscape shaped by aggressive trade tariffs and a controversial approach to higher education funding. As the global trade war intensifies, the implications of these decisions reverberate through various segments of the economy and society, posing challenges that could have lasting repercussions. The latest developments in the ongoing trade dispute have seen the U.S. government imposing a staggering 104% tariff on imports from China, a move that has provoked an equally aggressive response from Beijing, which has retaliated with an 84% tariff on American goods. This tit-for-tat approach has sent shockwaves through financial markets, resulting in a sell-off of U.S. government bonds and a sharp rise in interest rates, which surged to 4.5%. The highest level since February. Investors are increasingly anxious about the potential inflationary effects of these tariffs, prompting concerns that the U.S. economy could be heading towards a recession. J.P. Morgan has raised the likelihood of such an outcome from 40% to 60%, reflecting a growing consensus that the trade war could lead to widespread economic downturns. As financial markets react to the uncertainty, notable figures in the investment community have voiced their concerns. Rising bond yields mean higher costs for companies to borrow, and of course governments too, noted Laith Khalif, head of investment analysis at AJ Bell. The ramifications extend beyond U.S. borders, with analysts suggesting that the fallout could impact global economies, particularly the UK, as markets closely track the U.S. bond market's performance. While the economic implications of these tariffs are significant, the Trump administration is concurrently intensifying its scrutiny of elite universities. Recently, The administration froze over $1 billion in funding for Cornell University and $790 million for Northwestern University amid civil rights investigations regarding allegations of anti-Semitism and racial discrimination. This funding pause is part of a broader campaign against prestigious institutions which has already resulted in billions in federal funds being suspended or under review. Both universities have faced challenges in addressing the accusations, with officials asserting that they have received stop work orders and expressing concern over the impact on critical research initiatives. Linda McMahon, the Education Secretary, has made it clear that the administration views taxpayer support for universities as a privilege that can be revoked if compliance with civil rights laws is not met. The universities in response have emphasized their commitment to diversity and the protection of all student groups, while also highlighting the potential consequences of losing federal funding, which supports vital research projects in areas such as defense and health. As tensions mount on both fronts, trade and higher education funding, the political landscape remains fraught with uncertainty. The administration's aggressive stance on tariffs aims to bolster American manufacturing and protect jobs, but economists warn that the resulting volatility could ultimately harm the very workers it seeks to support. The potential for a recession looms large, with analysts divided over whether the Federal Reserve may need to intervene to stabilize the economy. Going forward, the interplay between Trump's policies on trade and education will continue to shape the national dialogue and influence economic conditions. As both domestic and international stakeholders navigate this turbulent period, the outcomes of these policies will be crucial in determining the future trajectory of the U.S. economy and its position on the global stage. The situation remains fluid, and with further developments likely, observers will be closely monitoring the administration's next moves and their potential implications for all Americans. In a dramatic turn of events on April 9, 2025, President Donald Trump's administration rolled out sweeping tariffs that have sent shockwaves through the global economy. These unprecedented measures are part of Trump's long-standing belief that trade deficits equate to losses for the United States, a perspective that has drawn both criticism and concern among economists and business leaders alike. At the heart of Trump's tariff strategy is a desire to eliminate or significantly reduce the U.S. trade deficit with various countries. He stated to me, "A deficit is a loss. We're going to have surpluses, or at worst going to be breaking even." This zero-sum perspective has been a cornerstone of his trade policy for decades. Yet it fundamentally misinterprets the dynamics of international trade. Economists argue that trade deficits are not inherently negative, rather they can reflect a robust economy where consumers have the purchasing power to buy foreign goods. Trump's fixation on bilateral trade deficits, however, has dictated the administration's approach to trade negotiations and tariffs, leading to a complicated and often chaotic economic landscape. The tariffs, averaging around 29% on goods from dozens of countries, have already prompted retaliatory actions from major trading partners like China and the European Union. For instance, China has announced that it will increase its tariffs on U.S. imports from 34% to 84%, while the EU plans to impose duties of up to 25% on certain American goods. This retaliatory cycle raises concerns about a deepening trade war that could stifle economic growth on both sides. Initial reactions from the business sector have been telling. Companies like Walmart and Delta Airlines have withdrawn earnings guidance amid uncertainty, while J.P. Morgan Chase's CEO has warned that a recession is increasingly likely. This sentiment is echoed by analysts who predict that the tariffs could lead to a modest stagflationary shock to the U.S. economy, where rising prices diminish real income growth and lead to a contraction in economic activity. The Wells Fargo analysts noted that if retaliatory tariffs continue, the contraction in real GDP could deepen, pushing the unemployment rate from its current level of approximately 4% to around 5%. The challenges associated with Trump's tariffs are multifaceted. First, the interconnected nature of global supply chains means that U.S. manufacturers rely heavily on imported components. As tariffs drive up the cost of these materials, businesses face increased production costs, ultimately leading to higher prices for consumers. This scenario raises a critical question: who will fill the manufacturing jobs that Trump envisions creating in the U.S. as a result of these tariffs? With immigration policies tightening, the labor market may struggle to meet the demand for workers in manufacturing sectors. In addition to the supply chain and workforce issues, there is a growing concern about the unpredictability of Trump's trade policies. The chaotic rollout of tariffs has fostered an environment of uncertainty, causing businesses to hesitate in making long-term investments in U.S. manufacturing. Without stable policy direction, companies may opt to delay expansion plans, further hindering economic growth. As the tariffs take effect, they have begun to reshape public opinion regarding Trump's leadership. Recent polls indicate a decline in his approval ratings, with many Americans expressing discontent over his handling of the economy. According to a recent Reuters Ipsos poll, Trump's approval has dropped to 43%, with over half of respondents believing that increasing tariffs will do more harm than good. Such sentiments reflect a broader anxiety among voters as they grapple with the implications of rising costs and economic uncertainty. Looking ahead, the full impact of these tariffs remains to be seen. Experts caution that it may take weeks or even months for the economic repercussions to fully materialize. As global markets adjust to this new reality, the potential for further escalation in trade tensions looms large. With Trump's administration steadfast in its approach, the question of how the U.S. economy will navigate this turbulent period remains open, leaving consumers and businesses alike to brace for the impending changes. In a significant escalation of its ongoing campaign against elite American universities, the Trump administration has frozen over $1 billion in funding for Cornell University and an additional $790 million for Northwestern University. This decision comes amid civil rights investigations into both institutions, which have faced allegations of anti-Semitism and racial discrimination as part of their diversity initiatives. The funding freeze primarily affects grants and contracts from several federal agencies, including the Departments of Agriculture, Defense, Education, and Health and Human Services. This latest move underscores a broader pattern within the Trump administration's approach to higher education, which has seen billions in federal funds suspended or placed under review over the past month. Other prominent institutions such as Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, and the University of Pennsylvania have also been targeted in this sweeping initiative, which seems to be part of a larger strategy to penalize universities perceived as strongholds of liberal ideology. Cornell officials responded to the funding freeze by stating they had received more than 75 stop work orders from the Defense Department but could not confirm the total amount suspended. They emphasized that the affected grants supported vital research in areas like defense, cybersecurity, and public health. University President Michael Kotlikoff, along with other officials, has expressed their commitment to understanding the rationale behind these funding cuts and reaffirmed their dedication to maintaining a platform for open dialogue and academic freedom. Similarly, Northwestern University, now the first non-Ivy League institution to face such a severe funding threat, has highlighted the risks to its groundbreaking research, including efforts to develop medical technologies like the world's smallest pacemaker. University spokesperson John Yates noted, "Federal funds that Northwestern receives drive innovative and life-saving research. This type of research is now at jeopardy." The administration's stance toward these universities has been vocalized by Education Secretary Linda McMahon, who has made it clear that taxpayer support is a privilege contingent upon adherence to civil rights laws. This rhetoric resonates with President Trump's long-standing criticism of elite institutions, which he often depicts as bastions of left-wing thought. The funding freeze is not just a financial issue, it reflects deeper tensions surrounding academic freedom and civil rights within the context of higher education. The investigations into Cornell and Northwestern were spurred by incidents related to the ongoing conflict in Gaza, igniting debates over how universities handle issues of anti-Semitism and discrimination. Lawmakers have also scrutinized the activities of legal clinics at Northwestern's law school, which represented anti-Israel protest organizers. further complicating the university's relationship with congressional oversight. Amid this contentious backdrop, university leaders are grappling with the implications of such federal actions on their missions. In a recent opinion piece, Kotlikoff advocated for universities as essential platforms for democratic values, stating, "Our colleges and universities are cradles of democracy and bulwarks against autocracy." His comments highlight the precarious balance institutions must maintain between fostering free speech and navigating external pressures. As the Trump administration continues to pursue its agenda against elite universities, the repercussions of these funding freezes could reshape the landscape of higher education in America. With investigations ongoing and the political climate remaining fraught, the future of federal support for these institutions hangs in the balance. The outcomes of these investigations may set precedents that extend well beyond financial implications, potentially redefining the relationship between universities and the federal government in the years to come. The global economic landscape is shifting dramatically as the United States under President Donald Trump intensifies its trade war with China while simultaneously navigating diplomatic tensions with Iran. Recent developments highlight a complex interplay of tariffs, international relations, and economic consequences that could reshape alliances and impact global markets. In a bold move, President Trump announced a series of steep tariffs on imports from various countries, including China, where the tariff rate has surged to an eye-watering 104%. This unprecedented action comes as part of his administration's strategy to confront what he perceives as unfair trade practices. The response from China has been equally aggressive, with officials vowing to fight to the end, signaling a potential escalation in this ongoing trade conflict. Analysts have warned that these tariffs could compel developing nations to re-evaluate their alliances, particularly those that have benefited from China's Belt and Road Initiative. Benjamin Ho, an assistant professor at S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies, noted that Trump's actions may force these countries to show their true colors in choosing between Beijing and Washington. The economic ramifications of Trump's tariffs are already being felt across global markets. Jared Bernstein, a former economic advisor to President Biden, characterized the situation as some of the worst diplomacy he has ever witnessed. He highlighted that the recent tariff strategies have already resulted in an estimated $6 trillion loss in global wealth, sparking fears of a full-blown trade war. Bernstein criticized the administration's approach, arguing that it misreads the complexities of trade dynamics with China. It's not that they are charging prices double what they should, rather they are exporting overcapacity and capturing market share by selling under cost, he explained, indicating a fundamental misunderstanding in the current U.S. trade strategy. As the U.S. grapples with its trade relations, it is also turning its attention to Iran, where Trump has reignited efforts to curb the nation's nuclear ambitions. Following the withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA) in 2018, which mandated restrictions on Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for the lifting of sanctions, tensions have escalated. Iran has since resumed uranium enrichment, raising alarms over its potential to develop nuclear weapons. Trump has now signaled a willingness to engage in direct negotiations with Iran, hoping to strike a deal that would result in the dismantling of its nuclear program. However, this approach is fraught with challenges, as Iran's leadership is likely to resist any agreements that infringe on its sovereignty or nuclear capabilities. The stakes are high on both fronts. In Iran, economic pressures from sanctions are mounting, and while some policymakers may see a deal as a path to relief, hardliners may view the pursuit of nuclear capabilities as essential for national security. A recent letter from Trump to Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei proposed negotiations, but the effectiveness of such overtures remains uncertain. As Trump noted, "If the talks aren't successful with Iran, I think Iran is going to be in great danger." This statement underscores the precarious nature of the situation, where failed diplomacy could lead to military confrontation. As these geopolitical tensions unfold, the impact on the global economy cannot be overlooked. The ripple effects of tariffs and trade wars are already reshaping financial markets, and the potential for conflict in the Middle East adds another layer of uncertainty. With Trump's administration navigating this complex web of international relations, the coming months will likely prove critical in determining not only the future of U.S. diplomacy but also the stability of global economic systems. In conclusion, as the world watches the responses from both China and Iran, it is clear that the outcomes of these high-stakes negotiations and trade policies will have lasting ramifications. The unfolding scenarios suggest that nations may need to recalibrate their foreign policies and alliances in an increasingly polarized world. The path forward remains fraught with challenges, and how these developments will shape the future of international relations and economic stability is still to be seen.